let's switch to Pac-12 in the saga with Pac-12.
Yeah.
How important is the BYU-Utah rivalry, and how critical is it that it's played every year? I would tell you it's absolutely critical. It's not optional. It is a game that, in my opinion, simply must be played every single year, in and out. Twice a year in basketball, once a year in football. It's just so important to our state, and I think it's so important to the lifeblood of football in this town. The recruiting wars, the battles at East High School, you just need it, that pressure, that passion, that desire, the in-home battles, the idiots who wear half blue and half red hats. We need that. And I think that's why it's so meaty and delicious that all of a sudden the Pac-12 is collapsing. And now your biggest question is, can the Pac-12 survive with the exodus of USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten and Washington and Oregon applying for membership in the Big Ten? And now you have the Pac-12 doing the only thing that they can do, which is try to find more revenue per school. So they're negotiating their TV deal a full 2 years ahead of time. I just don't see, Jake, a way that this conference can survive.
Yeah, and I think this is the price you pay for having Larry Scott as your commissioner for so long, and the damage you've done to premier brands like SC or like Oregon or Washington or even Utah. I think if you really look up and down the Pac-12, I mean, you don't have a whole stockpile of amazing teams. I mean, the Pac-12 for your average college football fan is probably like 3-4 teams, maybe, if you really think about it. Like, how many people outside of the state of Utah really know just how damn good Kyle Whittingham is at building a football team? Like, how many people outside of the state of Utah, like, know what we have going on in this state and why the Holy War is so important? So when I look at the Pac-12 and I look at the position they're in, I don't blame any of these schools for wanting to make the jump. I think, in fact, it is all on these guys who run the conference. They've made mistakes. When were we at? How long ago was that we were at Pac-12 Media Day? What has it been, 5 years now?
Yeah.
What was that, 5 years ago? We were at Pac-12 Media Day when we were doing the show in Phoenix, and Larry Scott literally sat in front of us and said, oh, yeah, we're going to have a streaming deal and DirecTV contracts, and everything's going to be amazing. And what did we get? Oh, that's right. You're on Dish Network. I can't watch you, and I have no desire to get Dish Network. And this is the price you pay. And I just think that we haven't seen this happen a lot on this level, because most conferences like the SEC or the Big Ten or even the ACC, with how weak that conference is, how top heavy that one is, they have good TV stuff, and that's the difference. And to me, not to rant, but it's so frustrating that you get premier matchups in the Pac-12 that nobody on the East Coast gives a damn about. They don't care.
Well, let's be honest, though, because they don't see those matchups.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that the Big 12 should absolutely want to get at least 4 teams out of the Pac-12 is because it gives you an east to west footprint. It allows you, in my opinion, to have again, if you look at the footprint, to have a BYU Oklahoma State game that is in primetime. It allows you to have a Utah West Virginia game that's in primetime. It is so imperative that the Big 12 win teams from the Pac-12, because the worst case scenario, in my opinion, is if the Big Ten were to end up with Oregon and Washington. I think it absolutely makes the Big Ten the best conference in college sports.
Even over the SEC.
Even over the SEC, because what does the SEC not have? A national reach. And when I talk about national reach, you're not going to get an 8 o'clock kickoff in Los Angeles with an SEC team in December or in November or in October.
Right.
Whereas if the Big Ten, let's say the Big Ten, has an Ohio State Oregon kickoff at Autzen Stadium at 8 o'clock Pacific time, You know, like you think about the reach that adding Pac-12 teams gives to the Big Ten and the Big 12. It's imperative, in my opinion, that if the Big 12 truly wants to compete, and I know they do, but if they truly want to compete, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah is not enough. It's not enough. And I know that seems like an awful lot, but if you truly look at what you have, Utah is the only national brand in that entire mix. With all due respect, what's going on at Arizona State right now is crippling to this conversation because the football brand at Arizona State is absolutely dead right now.
Yeah.
Arizona is a basketball school. And hell, if you add Arizona basketball to the Big 12, I mean, it only becomes a better basketball conference. It becomes a great conference instead of a good conference in basketball. But football pays the bills.
Yep.
And Arizona, Arizona State, and Colorado aren't exactly tearing it up in football. And my point is, Utah is vitally important to this conversation. But if the Big 12 really wants to go big, they need to add, or I think Oregon is the prize in the Pac-12 right now. Absolutely.
Nationally speaking.
Yeah, well, I think nationally, regionally, any way you slice it, Phil Knight wants to put Oregon in the best position that he can. Mm-hmm. Phil Knight, the founder and current boss at Nike, wants to put Oregon in the best possible position that he can. I think Phil Knight would absolutely love to have Oregon in the SEC. I don't know that the SEC would like to add Oregon, but if the SEC doesn't and the Big Ten adds Oregon, I think you're absolutely giving the Big Ten a chance to be the most lucrative, successful athletic conference in all of college athletics.
Yeah.
And I know that's saying a lot because the SEC, with what they accomplish in all sports, and I don't mean just football and basketball, what the SEC does in baseball, what the SEC does in track and field, all those things matter. Trust me when I say every penny counts in college athletics right now. But football is king because so many kids aren't playing college basketball anymore.
Yeah.
And when they do, they play 1 year. You have no choice right now but to go play college football. It is king. It is always going to drive revenue. We're talking about $100 million per school per year in the Big Ten. That's major buku dollars. And I don't care who the Pac-12 gets in the bed with. You're not making $100 million per year per school with whatever and whenever you get a TV deal. And to bring this back home, Utah absolutely needs to get to the Big 12. It's got to happen. Put the irony and the BS and that team down south.
Yeah.
This is Pac-12 country.
Right.
No, it's actually not Pac-12 country, and it never was. Right? Like, I think we fully understand, without question, Utah is in a very vulnerable position right now because in all likelihood, you're not an option in the Big Ten.
No.
You're certainly not an option in the SEC. So you better hope that you end up in the Big 12. And I think if I am the folks up on the Hill, I'm doing everything I can do to secure a partnership with another institution, be it Colorado, whoever. Hey, join us. Let's go make our pitch to the Big 12.
Yeah.
It's got to happen.
Yeah, and I think it's also, I agree, they're vulnerable, but I also think on the flip side of that, from a like a silver lining standpoint, I think it's a big opportunity. Like, I think, yes, this is classic life scenario. Hey, if this doesn't get done, you're going to be in a bad spot. But if you can get it done, you're going to be thriving. And that's what I think is so important to talk about here. We saw BYU take the first leap, which I feel like sort of paved the way for this whole conversation. And really, this conversation goes back to Texas and Oklahoma making their jump. I feel like that's kind of what kick-started all this movement we're seeing now. But I think BYU committing and going really was a signal that, hey, there's opportunity here. Like, you're in the Pac-12, which is the worst conference in the country. Like, everybody agrees on that. Why wouldn't you make a jump? Why wouldn't you shuffle things up? And by the way, the other thing that I think is at play here is with all this change happening and realignment and everything, how long is it before the NCAA gets dissolved after all this, gets handled? Because I think that's also something that's at play on the fringes right now. Like, once everything's realigned and everything goes down, like, what is the use for having the NCAA at this point? That's my biggest thing.
I don't know.
Now.
I think that's a very good question. I think that is a very, very good question. Jeremy Bolton says, I'd love to have the Utes Hawks swoop turds in the Big 12.
Okay.
This feels okay.
Okay.
Greg Hawkins, we won't be following anyone into the Big 12 if we join in the same year. It's a good point. You'll be joining together as one.
Right.
Combining forces.
Keep telling yourself that story, bud. Keep telling yourself that story.
That's every day.
That's exactly right. Jeremy says, college football rivalries, man. As much as I hate Utah and want them to go 0-12 every year, I still want to play the game every year. I totally agree with that.
Agreed.
Every year.
What did it do to this town when BYU beat Utah? Not that I like BYU more than Utah or anything,
when
but
did that happen? It seems like that never has BYU. I don't think BYU's ever beaten Utah. Has that? I mean, if you ask a Ute fan, Utah's undefeated.
Don't you know who I am?
Anyway, I'm being a jerk now. I am totally being a jerk. John Downard says should be played every year. Enough said. Yes.
Seriously.
Yes. And I still like that Jeremy Bolton said Utes Hawks swoops turds in the Big 12. I think that's interesting. He also says I'd rather go 1-9 against Utah than go 0-0. Truth.
Seriously.
Truth. Alex Chacon, that rivalry has to make more money than any other game or event that comes through Utah. I would gather so.
Yeah.
I would think so. Tanner Plummer, honestly, I think a good chunk of the state doesn't want to see BYU-Utah rivalry continue. Why? Because the rivalry has gotten really nasty between the two fan bases. It is what it is.
But it's a rivalry. What would you expect?
Hey, guys, why don't you come over? Let's all meet at Utah Pig Bus, and, we'll chop it up, and we'll play a game of beanbag toss, and
if you guys ever want to kick it, we'll flow.
I can't call it cornhole because that has a sexual connotation with Chet Holmgren in town. So why don't we just? I said
do you see what I have to work with here,
Chet
guys?
Holmgren.
Like, do you guys see what I have to work with here every day?
We all choose who we lay down with. You want to get them Chet Holmgren, please go right ahead. Dave Walton said Utah State will be better than both Stop.
Get the hell out of here, man.
Dave?
Dude, Utah State is not. Yes, they're important in this state. They're not Utah and BYU important, with all due respect.
Greg Hawkins says, my favorite childhood football memories were the Holy War Thanksgiving. So to me, bringing the rivalry game back would be great. And having it have conference leverage would be fantastic.
Dude, Greg, why do you have to get all nostalgic and everything? Why do we have to start talking about football games in the fall when the leaves are changing and, there's warm food on the table? And come on, dude. We're not ready. I'm not ready for that.
You can hear the leaf blowers and the rakes and the smoker.
Jim Nantz calling a college football game.
The smell of Jim Nantz doesn't call college football games. And Vern Lundquist calling college football games. Anyway, the smoke out of your smoker is a little thicker and a little more pungent. Anyway, yeah.
This is a tasty burger.
Brett Robbins says Dish Network XD. I agree. Dish has come a long way. I think their programming packages are great. 801-424-DISH. Call the Dish Pros. They don't advertise on our show. Jeremy Bolton says, LOL, Utah State. Okay, take it easy. I want to try and engage in football chat, but I need a team to support. Any suggestions? The University of Illinois. Thank you. Greg Hawkins says, LOL, Utah State. Utah State. That fits into your brand, James Knight. Support the Utah State Aggies. It's a fine program. Can we call them like Ton, Team Up North?
Elton, that little team up north.
Little team up, Elton.
Yeah.
Elton.
There you go. See, Elton.
Greg Hawkins says, LOL, Utah State. Kurt Meyer says, I find it ironic that the PAC are now trying to poach BYU. I thought the PAC had such church and state exclusions. All of a sudden, you're not a research institution, so.
Of higher learning.
Why don't you guys go play with the white salamander down in the creek? Like that.
Down in the creek.
In the creek. Because it's not a creek.
Wow.
But you have to admit, Utah fan, You have to admit the hyperbole and the garbage. Oh, yeah, look at that. TDS. Have fun.
Down by the river.
Have fun. Why don't you guys go back to the Mountain East? Oh, look at us. We're in the Pac-12.
Having fun is the name of the game.
We're a higher learning institution. What do you mean USC and UCLA left? What?
Makes me want to puke.
Man, hey, we got a cowboy hat. Why don't we go to the Big 12? We love BYU. They're our friends.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
You know, like Joey Smith and the guys down in Provo.
Yeah.
Did you see that temple they're building over there?
I hear the Vel is nice that time of year.
Taylorsville is such a nice place for a temple. You know, we could go down there and help you guys if you put in a good word.
This one.
You know, if you put in a good word with the guys in Stillwater. You know, like, I mean, let's do this. Sit up.
And as you can see, I'm going through some shit right now.
TDS? We never said T to that.
What?
Those are the disciples down south. You know, like they, hey, bless up, motherfuckers.
What's
How
up,
you
motherfuckers?
know? Well, I haven't lost my mind, but I'm not ready to flip the camera around.
You've lost your mind.
No, I haven't.
Yes.
No. Mrs. Monty will join us shortly. Pumped. Anyway, that's how I see the Utah fan.
Whew. Okay. Okay.
You know.
Yes. 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 Wow.
James Knight says, how's BYU radio doing these days, Monty?
On BYU radio.
It's time for the rivalry game. Screw Utah on BYU radio.
I say I'm just fired up to be here today.
All right. Welcome into BYU Sports Nation. Tithing since 1995. I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell.
Wow.
Eric
I'm
C
gonna say
says,
this again.
Eric C says, I made it. How's Monty Town today? Dude, Monty Town is in shambles. Like the outhouse at the end of the street overflowing with Pac-12 dung. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Butthole.
You know, wow. Jeremy Bolton says, what just happened? Save us, Mrs. Oh, my God. But you can't tell me it's lost. I cannot be the only one.
Well, they'll never admit it. Ute fans will, again, with all due respect, Ute fans will never admit that they gave BYU a hard time for like the last decade. You know, but that's just part of what it is. Again, this is a rivalry. This isn't like best friends. This is a rivalry.
Come on. Like I just look at all of the trash talking, and here come the DMs, please.
When you ask them that question, you may get a very unusual answer.
How do you Jeff says, how do you talk about Utah Pig Bus and not bring up Bam Bams? You're clearly a Utah fan. Are we really doing that? Oh, wow. Hey, man, you didn't say Bam Bam's barbecue, and we all know that makes you a Utah fan because you like Utah Pig Bus. Oink, oink, MFers. Are you really upset that I didn't? I like Bam Bam a lot. What are you talking about?
Shout to Mobamba.
Bro, what are you talking? Oh, DP cheesesteaks, please. Hey, can we get some swig over here?
Hey, guys.
Like, do I have to name like, oh, it's the new skin. New skin. All right. Vivint Smart Home Lavelle Edwards Stadium Field. Like, do I have to go through like every sponsor of BYU football? Like, is that where we're at? Wow, you know what? You talk about, drinking beer. Where's swig?
On the New Skin BYU Radio Network.
On the BYU New Skin Network. That's what this rivalry has come down to.
Yes.
How are you really criticizing me for saying Utah Pig Bus and not Bam Bam?
All gas, no brakes.
Oh,
I mean, I think this rivalry is like, how petty can we get on both sides? Because BYU is not innocent. BYU's not innocent. The fans, that is.
You guys said welcome to Monty in the morning. Clearly, you're Utah fans. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. How dare you?
Yeah,
Tanner Plummer says Monty is officially high. I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing
Cocaine and hookers, my friend.
How else would you do this job?
Yeah, come on, bro.
Cocaine and hookers.
Yeah.
How the fuck else would you do this job?
James Knight says, crack the window or something. You guys have inhaled.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I have not inhaled. Who am I, Bill Clinton?
Yeah.
You know, I just think it's funny the heat and the vitriol.
It's real.
That is involved in the rivalry.
It is real, bro.
When we're on barbecue joints.
Yes.
I just think it's great.
Yes.
I do. I think it's awesome.
Yes.
I mean, Greg Hawkins says the paint on the wall hasn't dried yet. Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly. Oh, Mrs. Monty just texted me to say that she has an 8 a.m. phone call this morning. Well, so now that means that's code word for we're married. You need to hurry up and flip the camera.
That's code word for you have 19 minutes and 55 seconds to get the show done.
Hayden Olson says possibly Mike Conley trades. Could be.
We talked about that earlier in the show.
Neil Huck says, did you eat paint chips as a kid? I did. Like that was I didn't have Lunchables. I had paint chips after school.
Paint chips and crackers.
You know. Justin Salas says, on the BYU network where we have been taking 10% of your money for over 100 years. Could be true. Jeremy Bolton says, too much ranch on the old Chipotle yesterday, Mott?
Yeah.
By the way, I did have Chipotle for lunch yesterday.
Lidocaine and B12.
All right.